Hello, hello, apa khabar? Selamat datang and welcome to Virtually Peranakan Fest 2023, celebrating our colorful culture. Welcome to the festival. My name is Alvin Un, the organizer and host from Peranakan Sayang. This is our fourth year of this annual online festival to keep our culture alive and kicking. And it's for Peranakans, Babas and Nyonyas around the world. Do say hi in the comment section and tell us where in the world that you are watching this live stream from. We certainly hope that you all have been well. Semua baik-baik, sehat, and thank you so much for joining us. Kamsia. And right now, it's my pleasure to invite my fellow co-host who's been co-hosting throughout the whole day. I have my kawan from Malacca. We'd like to call on our Baba Cedric Tan. Hello, Baba.
Hello, once more from
Mm.
Malacca. How is everybody doing out there?
Yeah, hope we're all fine. For those of you who are watching this live stream, do say hello. Tell us where you're coming from. And if you have any comments or thoughts, please do share with us. Hey, Ba, let's introduce what is our final segment for today about.
Oh, I understand that she's an author from your kampong, from Singapore.
Yes.
Madam Katherine Seow, yeah? Or Nyonya Katherine
Yeah.
Seow. She actually visited my home last year together with
Ah.
the NUS docents, actually. And
Mm.
so I understand that she has written a book
Mm.
entitled Becoming Nonya. And it
Betul.
was published last year. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's listen in, and I want to get to know what's actually what has she got to say about this book of hers. Yeah. So let's
Yes.
bring on Nyonya Katherine Seow.
Hello, Nyonya.
Hello there, Elvin. Hello, Baba
Ah,
Cedric. Thank you
wah,
for
Hello,
having
Nyonya.
me.
so
Sama-sama.
lembut-lembut eh. Yeah, so nice. Hope you have been well, Catherine, and welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
congratulations on your book. And I'm sure that you have so much to share with us. Please tell us a little bit more.
Yes, I will. What I thought to do was actually read you maybe two excerpts from the book, and hopefully they will give you a glimpse of my journey towards becoming Nonya. So maybe start with that, because then as I read these paragraphs for you, you can maybe journey with me. I think that is what I would like to do. All right.
Okay.
Um,
Would you
so
like me to
what
share?
happens? Yeah. So anyway, for those of you who don't know, this is the book that I actually wrote, and we managed to put the banner behind us so that you can actually see it. Yeah.
Yes, very good.
Elvin, please, if you can. So anyway, this is from chapter 1. I don't know why I hesitated outside the gates of the Peranakan Museum. I was too old to be frightened by the glaring black eagles mounted on the gate posts. The blazing sun was melting my makeup. What's more, I had run a red light to get here. I glanced at my watch. Class was starting in 5 minutes. I charged up the path and through the doors. So inside, I found the Exora room off to one side of the hall. I pushed open the louvered doors. A blue-eyed blonde in a turquoise kabaya teamed with pants stood before me. My stomach turned. This was all wrong. Why was she wearing the traditional lightweight cotton Peranakan top? Your name, please? She asked with a BBC-inflected accent. I found my tongue and stammered out my name. Kabaya-clad Caucasian, who introduced herself as Caroline, handed me a blue sling bag tagged with my name. On turning round, I saw a riot of color. Women in purple, fuchsia, red, orange, yellow, and emerald green kabayas filled the room. Of the 20-odd women, 4 were fully decked out in traditional Peranakan dress, pairing their embroidered voile tops with eye-catching sarongs and beaded slippers. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, a 7th-generation Peranakan who had never worn the kabaya, standing in a room of non-Peranakans wearing my traditional dress. So anyway, gentlemen, that was the start of it all, because I had signed up to become a docent at the Peranakan Museum. And when I signed up, it was not because I wanted to discover my roots. I wanted to be a docent, and then I picked the Peranakan Museum because I thought, oh, there's a small museum, maybe not so much to learn, and I'm already Peranakan, so maybe don't have to study too much, right? I should know some of these things. Well, I can tell you, I was wrong. When you really don't practice, there's a lot of things you don't know, And Cedric, I see you smiling, it's true. What do you know about a 12-day wedding ceremony? Really nothing at all, okay? So anyway, let me go on about how, this signing up to be a docent and undergoing docent training actually triggered this interest actually in my culture. So what happened is that before we go into the second excerpt, what happened was that I had a chance to redeem myself. When we actually launched the book, we held it again at the Izora room of the Peranakan Museum. And this time I made sure I got it right. I was wearing my sarung kebaya with kasut manik. And by then I had already taken some Baba Nyonya lessons. So at least can speak a little bit. So redemption, some redemption. Okay.
Well done.
Okay. So anyway, the second excerpt, it actually involves my grandmother, whom I called Mama. As I had two mamas, we differentiated them by their abode. One lived in Siglap and was Siglap Mama, and the other lived in Jalan Bangsawan, and so she was Bangsawan Mama. So life, gentlemen, is very simple when you're a child. Things are very black and white. So anyway, as I was saying, this is from chapter 2. As a young girl, I was proud that both sides of my family had been in Singapore for many generations. Then, when I was 6, my world shifted. I remember it being a Friday afternoon. Siglap Mama and her best friend, Bibi Kim Chu, were in the living room waiting for Bangsawan Mama and her neighbor, Auntie Baby, to arrive. The four ladies met every week for Chucky, the card game that Nonyas loved. Siglap Mama wanted to call Sako, my third aunt, at 2 o'clock and had instructed me to remind her. I did so and was walking out when I overheard Auntie Baby commend me for being such a good granddaughter of Chuchu. My chest swelled. Mama was always correcting me. Maybe praise from an outsider would help her to see my good points. By then, I was at the door. 2 more steps and I would have been out of earshot. I slipped behind the wall. This was my chance to hear her say something nice. But Mama sighed. I wasn't expecting it. I had put her daily scolding down to high standards, but this sigh hinted at something more. What had I done wrong? Crouching low, I pressed against the wall and moved as close to the doorframe as I could. I caught only one word, celok. I understood at 6 years old enough Baba Malay to know the word meant dip. But how could I be dipped? And why was this a problem? Confused and disappointed, I slunk away. So anyway, gentlemen, being called celok at 6 years of age and not understanding why, that is traumatic for a child. Thankfully, I survived and can sit here today and laugh about it. So if you want to find out how I resolved this psychological blow, please read the book. Okay. So, so you can see, how it actually started out for me, Nonya by sort of lineage, yes, but not really practicing it. And my grandmother called me celok. Kind of tragic, isn't it?
I guess
So,
by her standards, you are celok.
yeah, and then what happened was that I waited the whole day for my father to come home. Couldn't wait for him to come home. And then when he came back, I whispered to him, what the problem was. And he didn't give me an answer. His answer also, wasn't the straight answer that I wanted. So really, it was, but when you're a child, after a while, you just forget and life goes on. So anyway, it took many years for me to come back to this situation and then figure it out. So
So
anyway,
whatever conspired between them, it stuck with you all
yes,
these years. because her words were very precious to you, and what she thought or her opinion of you was very important, that you kept it all this time and you had to think very hard. Did you suffer through the years as your identity?
No lah. You're a child, it goes in and out. But you remember when the time comes, right? Then you remember it. Then I'm just remembering in the book, what happened is that, the next day I found a way to figure it out. And I said, oh, my father was telling me she doesn't think that you are, really Peranakan or Baba Nyonya because you don't speak. Then I told myself, okay, so maybe if I speak, right, then it'll be fine. So anyway, so I solved the problem, and then that's it. You close the chapter, and then life goes on, right? So, but it took many, many years for me to come back and realize that it's not just speaking; it is many other things as well. Although I would say, in the last, let's say maybe 4 years back, that's when I decided that I would take lessons. Found a cikgu, took classes, and now I speak a little bit whenever I can.
I agree. I think language is very important. It's key for your identity. It's like if you're Japanese and you don't speak Japanese, it would be very strange. So similarly, if you are a Baba Nyonya and you don't speak Baba Nyonya, it's a little bit off. But we're all learning. I think it's a whole progression that we are all learning over time, and how do we grapple or understand the culture more. What do you think, Cedric?
I think you're a late bloomer.
Thank you, Cedric. So kind of you.
And usually it's the case, because during the earlier years, you tend to probably have different priorities in life, different things that you want to do, to experience, that you put culture maybe somewhere back door,
Backseat,
in the room. Yeah, and as you grow, as you progress in your life, you begin to understand that you need to look at yourself, your inner self, in order for you to understand what you are truly made of, or your ancestry.
who you really are.
That will probably, that will make you whole. Yeah, in that sense. Yeah. So many a times we have this sort of people that they come back, they say, I want to get to know who my ancestors are. So they come and visit me, they ask me, how am I related to this person? And the story all goes back, and there'll be, of course, many stories to share. So along the way, you will also tell, okay, this is what my mom or my grandmother would usually do. So you reminisce all these things, and from there you pick up, you share, and when you share, the others would share, and then you later try to form a bigger picture, and this is so this is what truly happened, and from those exchange of experiences, you grow.
That's right. I totally agree.
Yes, Cedric, you are so correct. Because my interest actually started, I would say, maybe about 15 years back. What happened was that my grandmother, the same one grandmother that called me Chalop, okay? It was going to be her 99th birthday. And then I told myself that, what can I give my grandmother? So I decided to write a family history book. And that was the first book I wrote. It was called 7 Generations and Counting, the story of Bang Siu Pek. So to write that story, I had to speak to many people, my grandmother, my aunts, my father, and that's when I learned so many things, what it was like for my dad and his siblings when they were growing up. And I was really happy that I put it down, documented it, and the book came out. Because between that first book and this second one that has just come out last month, many of my relatives, including my parents, have passed on. So if I hadn't made the effort then to actually speak to them and write it down, a lot of this would have been lost. So I would say maybe some of it started then. That was for the family. And for myself, maybe a little bit more because of the docent training. So I'm very grateful for that as well. Yeah. Something must trigger, this desire, because it's a lot of work to sort of document it. And I think when you are looking, then you suddenly see, because after I finished my training at the Peranakan Museum. I thought, okay, that's it. Then little things happened because they had the genome project, if you remember, Alvin. Yeah, so I took
Yes.
part in that. Then I told you I decided to go for Baba Nyonya classes because I heard they were available. So then you meet people and you talk to them, you make new friends, your community becomes bigger. And because the Peranakan Museum was going to shut down for renovation, then I decided to become a docent at Baba House. So you meet some more people, right? And that resulted in the trip to Malacca, where I found out even more. So as you can see, many things happen, or your eyes are open when you are looking. If you're not
It's
looking,
a journey.
you won't see. You won't see it at all. Yeah.
Definitely, you can connect with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess also a lot depends on your background too. I think in Singapore, probably you won't be so reinforced as compared to perhaps if you're in Malacca or you're in Penang. Here we still have conservative folks. We still have so-called practicing folks. So yeah, sometimes when you just don't do it right, these people will just say, hey, hello, do it properly, no, sikit, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in Singapore, you probably would have a wider leeway in a sense to express yourself in different methods. Yes, so I guess if you want to get to know what happened in the past, then probably Malacca would be a good start. But in order for you to spread your wings and express yourself better, and then perhaps I think Singapore has a wider platform for you. I mean, the chance for you to express yourself will be wider. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at it holistically speaking.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
because I know in Malacca, the moment you try to be different, you get a lot of frowns.
You get
and
criticized.
all that. Yes, very, very much.
Yeah. But I think we also know that culture is ever evolving. We can't be always looking backwards, because if we keep looking backwards, we'll never move forward. And if we don't move forward, the culture will just die naturally, because you're just stuck in the past. Yeah. Because if it's no relevance to today's world, then it just dies a natural death. So
Yeah, I
sharing,
actually will
yeah,
agree with you, Alvin, because
yeah,
I think that at one stage, especially sort of in the generation just after World War II, when the Baba Nyonyas lost their fortunes and, it was no more the glory days.
yes,
I think for that generation who had lived, during World War II, there was always a looking back. But I
yes,
think for our generation, where you already are part of the Singapore, where
yeah,
there is a lot more focus on meritocracy, right, and your own efforts, then you figure that, hey, you can make something of your life. It doesn't matter that, you're no longer the middleman of the trade, and, you don't have the fortunes of the past, it's by your own efforts. I think very, very much
definitely.
so.
I think we all can attest that when we were younger, we don't think so much about culture, because we're all about, going to play, going to study, you know, getting your career started. You don't think so much about culture, at least for me. I suppose many people do that as well. But from my experience is when I had my children, that I really thought, what kind of values do I share with my children? So who am I? If I don't even know who am I, how do I share anything with my children? And you get totally lost. So that was the time when I thought it is important to really do something for the culture. And from there, you start learning and you picking up and you discover new things. It's really a journey of learning. And today we're still learning all different things about aspects of the culture. Of course, you can't relate to everything. For example, religion, it might be totally different practices altogether, but you still learn about it and you reflect on it, and you also understand how the culture came about. So I think that's quite a common experience for most people, to pick up culture in the later part of the life rather than as a child.
I would agree with that also. And I think that we go through stages in life, right? And, when you're a kid, your 20s, your 30s, you have different life priorities.
Of course.
And it's only when, your kids are a little bit older, and as you say, you think about what is it that you would like to pass on, who are you, then you sort of have to dig a little bit deeper. So maybe I can just share a little bit for you, for if you ask me what does it mean to be a Nonya today,
Yeah.
for me it actually starts with self-identification.
Mm.
My family is Peranakan. I know that, right? So
Mm.
I can say I'm a Nonya. However, when I was younger, I didn't choose to use that label. If you had asked me to pick, maybe 8 or 10 words to describe myself, Nonya would not have been one of them, because Nonya is the people who wear sarong kebaya, and they,
All the
may
BB
play
lah.
cakap. Yeah, yeah, that is Nonya. And I'm like, no, no, that's not me. That's not me. But today, I think very different. I mentioned training at the Peranakan Museum. Then it sort of opens up some of these little windows, right? And then you find that there is a connection with your past. And so for me, today, I'm happy to be identified as a Nonya and choose to participate in the culture. So as a Nonya kid, I can bake kueh now, all right? Wear the sarong kebaya, and I can speak a little bit of Bama Malay. I know it, and I speak it whenever I can. Yeah.
Mm.
So and it's progressive in a way,
Yeah.
I would say.
But
Yeah.
I also believe it's about the environmental situation and where the culture is at that point in time. When you were a child, probably it was not so celebrated. So you don't really think much about it. But today, I think we have come quite far and we've already created this celebration of our culture that more people would like to be identified as a Baba or as a Nyonya. And it won't be something that is too distant. I agree with you. When I was a child, I know I'm a Baba, I know I'm a Pranakan and all that, but I wouldn't call myself one. Right?
There's a certain image.
Yeah, it's like, what am I? Am I Malay? No. Am I Chinese? No, I'm not typical Chinese. I'm not Eurasian. I don't know why I am lah, Roja lah. I just lost lah. Totally
No, no,
lost.
I totally agree with you, Alvin,
Mm,
because, at that time when I was in school and growing up, right, I think that was the time that you're talking about Singapore as a nation, you want to, and the whole idea of a national identity, there's no room, for being a Chinese Peranakan, a Baba Nyonya, because I think it was the government's sort of push through education, right? Very much through education, that you're looking at building Singaporeans. And
mm,
so I think they were very, very successful, because
mm,
uh, for a long time I saw myself as a Singaporean, Chinese ethnicity, and the sort of Peranakan part of it, just sort of faded a little bit until the
mm.
time came for it to sort of emerge again. So maybe
Yes.
like the phoenix, right?
Yes. But you see, there's a difference for a Singaporean Baba or Nyonya as compared to, let's say, from Malacca. It's because of language. I
Mm,
think in Malaysia, in Malacca and Penang and all that, you still have Malay as the main language, a lingua franca that you use on a daily basis for whatever conversations or buying things, whatever. But not here in Singapore. So we've totally lost the common use of Malay. We still do, but we speak very little of Malay, unlike the past, let's say maybe 40, 50 years ago. So I think that's where the culture still thrives in Malaysia and Malacca and Penang, that you still have the language at least. So you still continue. What do you think, Cedric?
I probably would not agree with that statement. Language may be just one part of the whole jigsaw puzzle.
Mm,
Um, I would also feel that to a certain extent that you see why I say that, because I know of people in Malacca, so-called typical Peranakans. They don't dress in kebaya, but they preserve the culture well by observing all the prayers and practices. I have people here who are of pure stock but couldn't even be bothered.
mm,
Uh, they don't even speak the language for that matter, and for that matter, I also see people who call themselves Baba Nyonyas, but little effort in taken in wanting to portray the culture correctly. It's just to them that okay, it's hot now, so let's do something about it. But whether it's appropriate or not, it's just whatever goes thing. So that
mm.
is maybe I always believe that sometimes when we practice or we call ourselves Baba Nyonya, I think we really need to take a good look at ourselves. if we want to identify ourselves as a Baba Nyonya, I mean, how would we want to portray that? Externally, internally, a mix of both? Do we want to go all out, or just a little bit on the surface, or whether we truly want to, or we just want to show to people that we are just Baba Nyonya, so it doesn't matter whether we do it right or not.
Yeah.
So a lot of these sort of open-ended questions, as I said earlier. So I sometimes also felt that we have been giving them too much leeway, so much so that sometimes we don't even know what they're trying to do, in order to call themselves as Babas and Nyonyas.
So I mean, we've got off tangent. Yeah,
that's where the dilemma starts.
We were supposed to talk about Catherine's book.
Yeah.
No problem. This problem is, I think it's, as I said, someone asked me, why is your book called Becoming Nonya as opposed to Being Nonya? So I said that, I could be a Nonya just because, my family is Peranakan, but I think it's a journey actually towards becoming, and choosing to take part in the culture and be involved in it. And in a way, I agree with Elvin that actually language is important, because there is something that the culture conveys you learn it through the language. There are a lot. I mean, I think about it. It's like the French. When they speak French, the way they move, they gesticulate. And I think, when I think back to my grandmother, the way they speak, when you say the sentence, it goes up at the end, it goes down at the end, it means completely different thing. You know what I'm saying, right? You're asking the question or you're making a statement.
Yeah.
And I love it. I really, really love it. But so it's not going to be something that people embrace now, because you have to be practical.
Yes.
You're living here today. How many languages can we manage? For many of us, English definitely, and then probably Mandarin, and that's it. It's hard to have room to have a third language in it, because I know I struggled as a kid. Went to school, English speaking school, but put in the Chinese class. So every Chinese word I learned was really hard learned, because nobody spoke Chinese at home. I really struggled. But when you have no choice, you learn, right? So
yes, that's right.
So I speak Mandarin now, and
I think
Mandarin is better than my Baba Malay.
I think our Babas and Nyonyas are very practical people. We move with the times. I think
Yes.
that is very evident in our culture. We know how
Very
to
much.
assimilate, and adjust ourselves. When our first forefathers came, they only spoke Hokkien, maybe. They didn't speak much other language, but because they had to live here, they started picking up local languages, which is probably Malay, Indonesian kind of mix, Pasa kind of thing. So it came out with that. And eventually, when the Westerners came, influences, they picked up English, they picked up Portuguese, and all that. So times change. We've moved on, and today many of us speak Mandarin. Although I don't speak Mandarin, but they do speak Mandarin. So it's we've moved with the times, and it's all economic reasons. We have to learn. We have to adjust to the world today. What is the main languages used? So I think we're very practical.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, Elvin, because I think in Singapore in particular, it was very early on that you already had these Baba Nyonya families deciding that children would learn English, because it made sense. They even send their kids to the UK, to Oxford, to Cambridge, to study, because you wanted to learn the language of your masters, right? So it started from even then, but then they could manage because they spoke maybe English outside the home, but they spoke Baba Malay at home. So you still had that. But I think when we in Singapore decided that, okay, this is time for our independence and so on, and you have this bilingual policy, then it put a different complexion on things.
Yeah.
So that's how, you find that, so, the language got lost along the way.
Yeah, but speaking of language, I think the Baba Malay is most colorful, and
I love it. I really love it, as I said.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter in the book about you know what they call galera and all the nicknames that people have. It's so funny because, Cedric, you also know, right? The nicknames that we give one another, they're very, very blunt, right? You can just call someone si gemuk
Yeah,
lah,
looking
si
at that.
panjang lah, whatever it is, and it is to the point, and people accept it, because they know it's a nickname, but the nicknames are so descriptive. Because we had a neighbor, at and I talk about it in the book, where I could not understand, but my father and his siblings called this gentleman si kodok. And kodok is frog, right? Why do you call this man? And then suddenly one day I looked at it and I realized, because when you look at his profile, he's kind of a little bit hunched. He doesn't have a neck, So then you find, oh, that's why it's kodok. So it's really good, but it's funny. So the nicknames are clever, it's funny, and I think that it just gives you a sense of what Baba Nyonyas were like, that really they know how to enjoy life.
Yeah. So Darren agrees that nicknames are brutal in Baba Malay. Si gemuk lah, si hitam lah, that
Yes,
kind of
yes,
thing.
yes.
It describes the
Hello,
person
Darren.
as he is.
Darren's
Yeah,
from UK. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in UK. Yeah, so something.
Yeah, Catherine. Yeah. Look, judging from the title of your book, I think it's basically a story, a story that revolves around identity, what call it, strengthening the identity of yours. Maybe in a way you're also searching where you should be in terms of being a nyonya. Yeah. So I mean, I have not read your book, but judging from the content, from the title as well as what you've spoken, it's basically a journey of seeking about your real identity as a nyonya. Am I right?
Well, yeah, it is. It is. It's a journey. I think most of us, with our life journeys, we don't fully get there, but it's along the way, and then you learn something. You learn something about yourself, and I think, and hopefully, what I want to do is that you bring people along with you on this journey. Because today I had lunch with one of my former neighbors, and it's quite interesting because her family, I think, on maybe her mother's or father's side, she is Peranakan, but you don't you don't have any of it in your daily life. So I was just telling her this was my journey, and I said, yeah, maybe think about it, because she is collecting Peranakan cookbooks, okay, because she wants to make sure that her kids will know something about the food. But I think it's
You should get
a little bit more
Peliki's book.
than. But I think it's more than the food. Maybe you start there, because that's a really good place to start. Because when people eat the food and they taste it, and they come to appreciate that you have this fusion of cultures which resulted in this wonderful food that we have, then especially in a foodie nation like Singapore, why not? Good starting place.
Yeah, thank you. So for those who want to get the book, how can they get the book?
It's available at Kinokuniya, also at the book bar by Epigram, and then you can get it online, both at Kino and Epigram as well.
Okay. So what if they are not in Singapore?
If they're not in Singapore, what happens is that I have a link, because I think you can get it from Epigram's book bar. There is they do actually, you can order it if you're overseas. And I can put up the link actually if you want. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's just answer some questions from guests who have joined. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This one is totally unrelated, but we'll try to answer it nonetheless. Lin Chia just asking from Butterworth, right? Do Penang have a Baba Nyonya Learning Center?
Cedric, that's your for you to answer. You're in Malaysia, it's closer than me.
I am not very sure. Not that I'm aware of anyway.
You could go check with this Straits Chinese
Straits Chinese Association.
Penang Association, SCPA. They do have classes and all that, so you can look out for them over there. And let's see. Cecilia has a comment. Hi, Baba language could be used a little in this sharing session. Totally agree. We do that, but not for this particular one. But for some of the other sessions, we do speak a lot of Baba Nyonya language, especially I think tomorrow, 5 o'clock.
The last two sessions, yeah.
The, especially the last session where we're going to have a lot of fun singing and talking. You should join us for that. So do look out for that. And Alison from Melbourne,
Hello.
Australia. Yes, I hope to pass this beautiful culture from my maternal side on to my two girls, 7 years, and loves donning her kebaya whenever we gather in a Peranakan catch up there. Yes, exactly. So something that she shares probably that what does she share with her children, right? The next generation. So I think we can relate to that. Yep. Okay, so I think that's all the comments that we have. Unless anybody has any last minute comments, we can wrap up this session. So, Cedric, any last words?
No, nothing that crosses my mind. It's just that maybe as a nyonya yourself, Catherine, what do you hope to hand or pass down to your next generation? Basically, from where you are right now.
Mhm. I think for me, like Elvin was saying, what is it that you want to pass on to your children? I think it's important that my son, knows that this is part of his heritage, uh, and I can only expose him to it, but it is his choice how much he wants to be involved. So I think the more you sort of show, uh, and they can see that there is a part for them, they will. But you can't force anybody, right? I think there are many aspects of our culture which I think are worth passing on. So I think those are the things that you focus on. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So, at the end of it, we've come to conclusion. It is a choice. It's up to
Yes,
you. So,
yes,
if
yes.
you want to keep your Baba culture alive, it is up to you to go and discover and learn and be part of the journey. And from there, celebrate who you are and bring it on to the next generation. Yeah. So with that,
Mm.
I think we have run out of time of this session. Once again, we'd like to thank Katherine Seow. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your book, Becoming Nonya, a memoir. You can go get them. And also thank my co-hosts. Thank you so much, Cedric, for being with me the whole day,
My
whole afternoon.
pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's the
Kamsia,
end of the program.
kamsia.
Kamsia. So that's the end of the
Bye-bye.
program. So we hope you enjoyed it. Do follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our next program will be happening tomorrow, Sunday, starting from 1 p.m. all the way till 5 p.m. We've got a fantastic lineup as well tomorrow. So please click on the link tomorrow at 1 p.m. to join us. This has been virtually Peranakan Fest 2023. My name is Alvin Un. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy Deepavali, everybody.